OK, a step forward, a step in the right direction. David Ford?
I think what we've got today is a lot of headlines and very little substance, and I'm not sure whether there is any substance behind it. If this is the most ambitious plan ever, then people haven't read A Shared Future. They haven't read the proposals that we put forward earlier this year and for everyone. Indeed, they haven't read the policies the Alliance Party put forward 10 years ago, which we called Building a United Community. They've picked off the headline, but there's nothing of the substance there. And I have real concerns that by putting up headlines without substance, without knowing where the money's coming from, without actually acknowledging what is already being done in what's already been highlighted in the Department for Employment and Learning by Stephen Farry, or in my case, without taking account of the realities of what needs to be done about interfaces, right, I think we have the danger of disappointing people. So
are you going to be involved, is your party going to be involved in the working group that's going to be set up, this all-party group that's going to try to deal with some of the other issues that haven't been sorted out by today's announcement?
Well, it's interesting because a couple of months ago we put forward a proposal for a 5-party working group with an independent chair and bringing in civic society to widen out the discussion and have a better chance of making progress. Peter Robinson rubbished that in the Assembly. He had a particular go at Chris Little on it, and yet that is exactly what is now being proposed today.
What is rubbish is the fact that I, as an executive minister, hadn't been made aware of them in advance. The executive had no discussion or no input to them. The political party, the Ulster Unionist Party that I represent, which wants to do what's right for the people of Northern Ireland and is committed to a shared future and wants to see progress made, have had no input at this stage to these proposals.
Does that matter? Tell me why that matters, frankly.
Well, it fundamentally matters because the entire community, including all of the political parties, have to be involved in this work.
Right.
This is not... This ought not to be a shared out future. It has to be a shared future, and all of the political parties have to be involved.
Why haven't they
A number of actions have been announced today. One of the most important actions of that is to bring together a working group, 2 representatives of each of the political party with an independent chair, to bring forward some of the most difficult aspects of our shared future. So all the political parties will be involved in that.
To deal with the difficult bits that you two couldn't actually sort out between you. That's the point. Flags, parades.
How has the peace process moved forward? We dealt and we got round the table and we agreed with the bits, or we got agreement on the issues we could agree with, and we moved on to the next stage.
And everybody had to be involved in that.
Everybody will be involved, and then we moved on to the next stage.
Well, that hasn't been the case, John.
I am a wee bit disappointed by the tone from my colleagues opposite of
But they didn't know anything about it until it was announced today.
So what?
I'm sorry. Fundamentally, that's the issue, John.
But hold on,
the so what attitude is the issue. That you're not.
It's remarkable that you're sitting here and there are fellow members of the executive who didn't know about this in advance, and your attitude is so what?
But in the wider terms of the general public.
But that sums up the attitude of the 2 big parties.
Okay, well let John O'Dowd make his point.
Let me finish this point. In the wider issue of a divided society moving forward, the First and Deputy First Minister, in unison, stood up today and said, these are the plans, these are a number of plans moving forward going on to the future. Does the general public really care as to whether John O'Dowd knew the full details, or David Ford knew the details, or Danny?
This is a divided society. Every time we've made significant progress since the talk started back in the mid-90s, it's by having everyone in the room and dealing with the issues as a collective, not siphoning off people to do side deals and then present them as a fait accompli. And every time we've ended up in a cul-de-sac, let's look at the recent history. We ended up in a cul-de-sac over parades because the Sinn Féin and DUP negotiating teams took themselves off to a side, did a deal 3 years ago, and the deal fell flat on its face. We ended up in a cul-de-sac over the first CSI document because Sinn Féin and the DUP took themselves off to a side, did a deal, and the deal fell flat on its face. Now, I don't want this process to end up being a fiasco. But it has to be said that in terms of getting off on a wrong foot, you couldn't possibly get off on a worse foot in an all-party executive where you've excluded the majority of parties.
But if we're talking about collective government, then perhaps those who published the report today could explain how it is that OFMdFM can announce proposals for what is the responsibility and the professional expertise of the Department for Employment and Learning without any consultation with the DEL Minister. How they can actually announce proposals about peace walls where they had no consultation with the Department of Justice, which has a direct responsibility, where they've apparently announced funding apparently in complete ignorance of funding that the department, the IFI,
well, look,
the Community Relations Council,
we need to move on from the issue of consultation,
where they are simply being unrealistic in terms of what people on the ground see about putting a timescale which is most unhelpful, which isn't in the programme for government, because it would be unhelpful.
Right.